Boom.
Hello, you guys out there.
It's Mr. Creighton.
And Mrs. Klein.
We're here with your second podcast of the unit, Chapter 9, Lesson 2, titled The Daily Life in Medieval Europe. In this podcast, you will learn about daily life in medieval Europe. As we're going through this, I want you guys to think about how life is different for the manor life compared to those that lived in the towns. So town life compared to manor life. As always, we've got different terms and names you need to know. It's not as many as last time. These terms are manor, knight, chivalry, and guild. Just a reminder, you will have a podcast quiz coming up shortly, and when you hear this sound, it means you just heard a vocab term.
All right, you guys, a reminder again that we got a big idea for this unit, and it is conflict brings about change. First essential question this time is, what impact did feudalism have on medieval Europe?
Next one, how important is keeping order?
Number 3, how do civilizations change and adapt after conflict?
And the final one, how does religion play an important role in shaping civilizations?
All right, the first section of this lesson, you guys, is called the manor system, and you can find this on pages 299 to 300. Be thinking of this question as you listen along. What role did the manor play? Okay, during the Middle Ages, strong central governments did not exist. Instead, Europe consisted of small kingdoms and lands held by high-ranking nobles. The main part of a noble's land was called a manor. The center of a manor was the house where the lord and his family lived. The manor house was often a castle. Surrounding the manor was the lord's estate. Much of the estate consisted of farmland.
The serfs were an important part of the lord's land. They lived and farmed on the land. This activity formed the economic basis of the manor system. The serfs were considered part of the manor's property. They remained on the land if a new lord bought it.
Wow, that's kind of interesting, isn't it?
That is, and it kind of sucks.
Okay, yeah. Okay, all right. The next paragraph is, the land on the manor supplied the people living there with most of the things that they needed. So it's kind of self-sufficient, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
As a result, most economic activity took place on the manor. This activity included farming, woodworking, and winemaking. Manors became worlds unto themselves. Few people ever left the property. All right, you guys, the question you should be able to answer right now is, what made manors worlds unto themselves?
All right, our next section is the Age of Chivalry, found on pages 300 to 301. Question, what was chivalry? During the Middle Ages, conflict often broke out between various lords. Many times, lords settled a quarrel by attacking each other. Lords relied on knights to do their fighting. Knights were vassals or lesser nobles who fought for lords in return for land.
Knights were more than just professional fighters. They were expected to live by a code of honor known as chivalry. According to this code, knights were expected to be loyal to their lord and brave in battle. They also had to show a strong religious faith and a willingness to defend Christianity. In addition, they were expected to protect women and the weak and fight against injustice.
Again, it sounds very similar to what we just learned about with Japan.
Absolutely, that code, that Bushido code of Bushido. All right, the question you should be able to answer right now is, what did the code of chivalry require of knights?
All right, guys, our final section is the growth of towns. You can find this on pages 301 to 302. The question you guys should be thinking about, what was town life like? By 1000, town life began to return to Europe. Over time, a number of lords became increasingly powerful. This brought greater peace and stability to many regions. As a result, merchants began to travel more freely. They also began to trade more goods. Wherever merchants settled, builders and tradespeople gathered around them. Soon, towns began to form.
During the Middle Ages, most towns were dirty, crowded, and busy. In the center of most towns were a market square and a cathedral. The streets were narrow and usually not paved. After a rain, the streets often turned to mud. Most of the houses were made out of wood, and they easily caught fire.
In towns, people with the same occupation formed groups called guilds. Many guilds were formed by tradespeople, such as goldsmiths and bankers. Guilds made rules that controlled the quantity and quality of production. The guilds also made sure that their members found employment. The question you guys should be able to answer right now, what led to the growth of medieval towns?
All right, as a reminder, you guys, you're going to have that podcast quiz coming up, and you've got the 4 vocabulary terms for this lesson. They are manor, knight, chivalry, and guild. Make sure you're ready to go for that podcast quiz. All right, guys, bye.
Sounds good.